So in today's lecture, this is a lab session and we will learn about conditional statements like if else. So these are kind of conditions that we check, and based on the conditions we execute different statements. So we will learn about the if statement, else statement, if else statement, and we will see some examples in this lab session. Okay, so let's try to see this code. So here we define three integers. So first is a is equal to 5 here, then b is equal to 6, and c is equal to 10. So we have three integers. So now we learn about if statement. So if is a keyword or statement where we have a parenthesis and we write some condition. And what are the relational operator? We can check less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, and not equal to. So these are some relational operators. So this is something we will write is a greater than b. So this is the expression that we write inside if. So if this condition is true, so the expression will be evaluated to either true or false. So if it is true, we open a bracket, we execute some piece of code, and if it's not true, we go to else. There is another set of code. So here what we do is that if a is greater than b, then we do printf a is equal to 5 is greater than b is equal to 6. And if this is not true, and in this case what happens is we see a is 5 and 5 is greater than 6 is false. So it doesn't execute these lines of code, but it comes here printf. So it will print a is equal to 5 is less than b is equal to 6. So this code will be executed in the else block. So this is about the simple if else condition. So now let's move forward and look at another example, which is a little complex variation. So here what we see is that we have an example where again the expression is a little more difficult. So we have a is equal to 5, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to 10. So now what happens is we are now checking. So there is a and which is represented in C by ampersand ampersand. So we check if 5 is greater than 6, and so this is another thing, if this condition is true and 5 is less than 10, if both of them are true, then we should execute this part of the if code, otherwise we should execute this part. But what happens is 5 is greater than 6 is false, and the execution stops, because if any one of the condition is not true, the next one is not evaluated at all, because I already know that okay, it's false. So what happens? So this is executed, a is equal to 5 is greater than b is equal to 6, and a is equal to 5 is less than c is equal to 10 is not true. So this is not true, so that's why this condition is printed. So now let's see another example where we have now if some condition. So this one else if. So if some other condition do this and or else something else. So this is the piece of code. So what happens here is that we check, and usually we should have all these are mutually exclusive. So all these cases should be mutually exclusive. So we have if a is less than 0, then we should print that a is less than 0. Otherwise, if a is greater than 0 equal to 0 and a is less than 5, we will print a is between 0 and 5, otherwise a will be greater than equal to 5. So on a number line, if we represent, so this is 0, this is 5, so till here this is the first case, a is less than 0, then second case is a is 0 to 5, and then the next case is a is greater than equal to 5. So these three cases are considered. First is a is less than 0, the next one is a is greater than equal to 0 and a is less than 5, and the last one is a is greater than 5. So these are the three conditions that are checked, and again, so we see that it will print that because our a is equal to 5, so this will be printed. So now let's look at next example of if. So now what we will see is kind of nested if. So we have if a is less than 5, then I will go into the braces of the body. Again, if b is less than 8, I will go inside the b second if block, and if c is less than 20, I will go into this, and it's kind of ANDing. So if a is less than 5 and b is less than 8 and c is less than 20, so we will print all the three conditions are met. So another way of writing this would be something like if a is less than 5 and b is less than 8 and c is less than 20, so printf all the three conditions are met. So this is another way of writing this. So last condition, the last example we will see, it's quite interesting. So here we have if a is greater than 10, so now we know that a is 5, b is 6 and c is 10. So if a is greater than 10 and plus b is greater than 12, so we know that plus b is an increment operator, which means that b will be incremented first and then it will be compared to 12. So if b is 6 and if I say that okay, if plus b is greater than 6 or greater than 12, so what will happen here is that b is 6 now, so it will become 7, and if 7 is greater than 12 will be evaluated. And similarly plus c is greater than 100, so we should expect that c is 10, so it should become 11, is 11 greater than 100. So if this is the case, then printf a is greater than 10, b is greater than 12 and c is greater than 100. So what we see is that this condition is of course not true. None of them are true. So question is now this will not be executed, it will come to this line. So now we have to print a, b and c. So what will be printed? We will expect that okay, a is 5, b because it is incremented it should become now 7 and c should become 11, but it's not so, because what happens is that if we run this code, so what happens is that it goes from expression is evaluated from left to right. So first thing, and it is an AND, so if any of the condition is false, so it will just come out. So if a is 5 and is 5 greater than 10, it's false, so it will not go there and it will leave all these conditions, and hence when we do, so it will just print 5, 6 and 10. So this was about our if statement. So we learned about the if case, if else and else blocks, and we saw the piece of code. So thanks a lot. If you like this lecture, please join or subscribe to our YouTube channel.